So one of the older options inside of Mesh Tools is Selection Options. So in order to show this properly, I'll need to go inside Edit Mode and we'll Shift right click to place our cursor, and I'll Shift A, add a cube. And with our cube, I'll just scale it out, SX, and then Alt Control numpad minus to perform a boolean, and then we'll add another cube, and we'll do the same thing again, except this time we'll come out the back, Control Alt numpad minus, and we'll also drop our cursor here, and Control Alt numpad minus, and we'll just grab this face and bevel it with Control B, and just slide that edge, grab these, bevel them just manually in edit mode. This is kind of how I normally model just basic shapes when it comes to just quickly making shapes if I'm working in a destructive fashion. I'll also take this opportunity to do a mod and apply on Alt X over to the other side. So with this shape, we can now discuss the selection options. So basically, if we choose display NGON tries, this will shade everything in a way that will make it apparent what is NGON and what is try. However, previously in 2.79, it had the ability to auto update. So I selected these two verts, and what we'll do actually is we'll do a J lightning bolt between them, and we'll select these two and do the same thing as well. And we'll select these two verts and press J and do a lightning bolt between them, just creating this little connection. And we'll just do a couple of corrections just to create some tries and to create a quad. And to show this in action, basically we can choose to hide it. And then if we turn it back on, you can actually see it updated where it now shows this being a quad and these being yellow being a try. Someday in the future, I actually want to have this system reevaluated and done in a more interactive fashion where you can actually solve things and it clears them like a combo game and actually make this into something that's completely different than what we're looking at here. So I can only keep things cursory for now because this is something I only use in times where I'm just really particular about getting rid of all NGONs. But really, you know, like we discussed previously, when it comes to dealing with NGONs, you can just add a triangulate modifier, which will always deal with only NGONs via the minimum vertices unless you adjust it. And then we see that basically everything is triangulated. So you can always triangulate something, and then you could easily boolean it or add a subdivision, which will turn it into a quad. So if we take this and we add a bevel on it, and we'll press 3 and turn it into a spacer, but we'll scroll it up one level. You know, we've actually added a spacer in between this. And just to look at what we have at this point in time, I'm just going to convert everything to mesh. And we will go back under Mesh Tools, and let's look at what we have under our display NGONs and tries. This is just us working with some modifiers, just cleaning things up. But the main thing is we have quads completely surrounding all of our perimeter areas, which is the most important when it comes to keeping these forms. Everything in between can just be isolated and solved to your heart's content. But the best part is that we can simply add a subdivision at this point and actually progress this to the next level. And the strange thing about subdivision that I feel everyone should take away from this is that if you apply a single level of subdivision ever, it will turn everything into quads, no matter what. One level of subdivision will always remove any NGONs or triangles and turn it all into quads. It won't be the most beautiful quads you've ever seen, but they're quads nonetheless. And this is definitely something that can be utilized and hacked to your advantage if used in the right location. But whenever it comes to displaying NGONs and triangles, that's basically what this option is for, is to basically put it at the forefront. But if you ever wanted to basically, let's undo this to a few levels. Let's undo it a bit. Let's undo it to here. Let's say I wanted to select only the NGONs. We can go under Mesh Tools and we can choose NGON Select. So now basically every NGON is selected, except we probably want to do that in face mode. So let's try that again. And if we press Control T, we've now triangulated all the NGONs. So if we go and toggle this off and on, we could see that now everything is a triangle. We could press Alt J, try to turn these back into quads, you know, maybe mess with the max shape angle. It's just not going to cut us any slack today. Nothing's going to become a quad via auto quadding today. But for the most part, you can just quickly get in, even select all the tries and try pressing Alt J again, just to see if we can get a little bit of mercy with this. And this time we were able to get a little bit of give with it, where a couple of things became quads. So, you know, to wrap this up, we can actually go back to hidden NGON and tries and make it display again, and we see that we've actually reduced the amount of triangles being displayed by a larger margin. I mean, I would of course mirror this to the other side, simplifying the amount of work that has to be done. But if I really wanted to just get rid of all triangles and call this a day, that's no longer a triangle. And let's actually get the selection order right so it corrects the material, and it's not going to happen. But let's mirror it to the other side, and I believe we have another try around here. We don't. So if we go in here and we toggle this off and toggle it back on, we see that there's one try to just extend this video just a little bit longer, right? So we won't let it make a fool of us. J. Actually, this is a bit of a rat's nest. Let's see. Let's deal with this. You know, dealing with it in a manual fashion is an art unto itself that I definitely recommend that users spend some time getting acquainted with. But it is something that is part of the frustration and getting tired of vanilla part of Blender, because you know, if you don't have an understanding of why we made these tools the way they are, then you're definitely in for a much different time than what's intended. So this is a little bit of a work that I had to do here, just thinking on the fly, but we'll just turn that off. And then we turn it back on and we see that we still have some tries. So how are we going to get rid of these tries? We'll turn that into a quad, we'll turn that into a quad, turn that into a quad, and let's toggle it off and toggle it back on again. And we see that there's no tries. And so we just mirror that to the other side, and we have now converted this into an all quad object, even though it's some of the worst quads you've ever seen. But that's basically the selection options in a nutshell. Like, these are an older legacy option that's here just for the purposes of just legacy. But now that I have my sights on them, there is a good chance that they may be getting a dramatic improvement in the future as far as their utility going forward, or at least integration into some of our other tools that we're working on that aims to deal with topological issues.